cash-strapped Pakistan had to turn off the power to save money, and then they couldn't turn it back on. Why couldn't they turn it back on, folks? This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. We're going to be getting into a lot of things in this video having to do with hackers and things of that nature. For some reason, some strange reason, we're seeing a lot more of that. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, just about a week or two after a certain famous person started talking about it, saying, oh, we're going to have more of this happening. Who could that be? Who could I be talking about, folks? We'll be getting into that and so much more. And actually, there's a ton of this going on. We're talking black, as you would say, outs in, of course, various countries. Pakistan seems to be the winner this time, folks. And, of course, they tried to say it was they didn't have any cash, so they had to cut the power. And actually, we've seen this in other countries as well, some in South America and various other places where essentially we're seeing GOVs running out of money. We're seeing, of course, various regions running out of money. We're seeing a lot of this. And they're talking about turning off the power at various times of the day, so the mall may not have power for a day or half a day or a few hours or whatever. We've seen this type of thing before, also in California in the past. But what's interesting about this is they said they couldn't turn it back on. Why couldn't they turn it back on? Oh, could it be those people on the computers again? We've seen a lot of that of recent, ever since December. And of course, we saw that with the airlines, all of them being down. We are seeing it now with this particular country. They had 99% without power, okay, for a few days. And then after that, they had intermittent, and then they also had on top of that, like some regions worked, some didn't. We're seeing a lot more of these type of things. And again, like I said, there was someone who said that this was going to happen. Like I said, it's 220 million people, folks. 220 million. All right? And, okay, so we're going to get into this. Now, you might have remembered this guy's face right here. This is the guy who said it would happen back on the 15th. Like, not even about 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, he came out with a video talking about this. Pay, of course, attention to what I got to tell you. Oh, what if there was these hackers, and this would be way worse than that whole thing. You remember that whole thing, how you didn't like that? This is way worse. Me, Santa Claus, is telling you that. Okay? And every single time this dude talks, it like happens after he says it. It's just so amazing how that happens. And I didn't even realize he said this. You know, I did know it. But I actually put out a couple of videos before I even knew he said this. And I was talking about Washington and how they had power, substations. There's like 4 of them that went, of course, down. And I mentioned the fact that there were certain groups training just 100 miles away in Canada that weren't from Canada, CHINA. I might touch on that a little bit, but we're not really going to be talking about that because I've talked about that numerous times. But it's just kind of funny. I didn't even realize that this guy had said something like he always does. And yeah, so that's basically what happened right here. This is where he starts talking about, okay, here we go. Right here, a comprehensive, cyber, of course, situation type of thing. And we saw it with the airlines. We saw it with now various countries that we can't afford power anymore. We're going to turn off the power. And then they can't turn it back on because of some, of course, hacker. And then we have actually multiple power, as you would say, stations across the US of A that had issues. Nevada, Washington, North Carolina, and others. We'll be getting into that and much more, which is really kind of funny. Here's this video here I wanted to play. We got Austin Powers Santa Claus version. Sort of like one of those deep, of course, fakes that, and then it, of course, has Mini-Me as well.
Yeah, I gotta keep it trendy on my my soul. I'm the most selfish person that I know. Here we go down a rabbit hole.
Looks just like him, doesn't it? It's pretty awesome. Yeah, I remember that movie with Austin Powers. It's pretty hilarious. It actually fits quite well. But like I said, we're going to be getting into this and so much more. And like I said, they even had disruptions afterwards, even after it ended. And of course, could this be, as you would say, testing? Could it be? Could it be, folks? And so we get into this much more. Before we do so, I wanted to mention we have links in the description for all these things that I've mentioned many times before. Food Supply, 25-year shelf life, $5.97 for 3 months worth right now, folks. Link is in the description. It has a lot of freebies added to it. Grubbing tools, playing cards, all manner of things. Link is in the description for that. And of course, also this book here, The Lost Ways, How Your Great-Great-Grandfather Lived Without Electricity Like You Will Soon. Might want to get that book. I have people in the comments section saying that it's a great book, and that's all I've seen. I've just seen good comments about it, and wishing they would have bought it earlier. Definitely get it. $30-some, hundreds of pages, illustrated. Get the printed version. Link is in the description. Recipes, how-to, all manner of stuff. At any rate, also, of course, gold and silver. Definitely want to get yourself some of that if you haven't already. The price is already going up a bit. And I'm telling you, it's going to go up a lot more soon here, folks. Because, of course, a story just came out. I think it was a couple days back, like, oh, is Saudi Arabia now going to accept sales of oil without the dollar? And I was like, I already knew they were. They've been talking about it forever. It's been like a month or two they've been saying they're going to do it. And then they finally have done it. And so they're taking purchases of oil without the dollar. This is how we were keeping inflation down, folks. This is how we were actually retaining the value of the dollar. This is how we were able to have the top position. Now they're accepting other types of payments like the yuan. And of course, the Ruslans are talking about taking gold for oil. So you're going to see the dollar lose a ton of value. Anyway, you get the idea. So you're going to definitely want to get yourself some gold and silver if you haven't already. Link is in the description. Of course, also my website, grvideos.com, where I'm actually uploading a lot of videos. And I've been working with a developer on creating an app soon here for cell phone notifications. Probably take a few months to make. I already got other creators that are interested as well. I've talked to only 3, and 2 of the 3 already responded very interested. So this could be a big thing, folks. This could be a really big game changer where a lot of people like you watching my videos will be able to get the notifications you really want on the videos you want. Anyway, that's coming in the future, but link is in the description for my website, grvideos.com. I got a lot of videos putting up there, folks. I'm going to be probably uploading some today as well. Definitely want to get over there. Link is in the description. And I got some awesome videos in the free video section. I got videos in the membership section. $4.95 a month. First month is free. Link is in the description. Let's get back to the video. So what are we seeing? We're seeing a lot of really curious things. Like I said, we're seeing something with the power in various countries now, including Washington State, Nevada, North Carolina, and others. We're going to get into that in a minute. We're seeing also with Pakistan there, literally the entire country without power. And now we're seeing, and of course we recently saw not too long ago about the airlines essentially all being, of course, down as well. And of course they're like, we couldn't understand what happened. What happened? I know what happened. Some guy at the World Economic, of course, Forum pulled some strings, and it just happened. It's so weird how that happens every time, folks. I don't need to guess. I mean, it literally happens every time. I've been watching this for a while. Has it been like 2 years or more? Every time they'd say something, it would happen. Like, I was calling this 2 years ago. I was like, oh, they just said this a month ago, and look what's happening. It's like every single time. And without fail, up till now, they say something, it happens. And it's really curious how that keeps happening. I guess it's just a weird coinky-dink. I don't know. What do you think? But then we also have these as well. The Pacific Northwest power, of course, stations. They're referring to Washington and North Carolina here. I think, no, actually, they're just referring to North Carolina. That's interesting. Well, there's also Washington as well, and there's also Nevada, and we're seeing this, and also even in Oregon. Okay, this is very interesting. I didn't even know about the Oregon one. So, like I said, there's multiple states, and every time it's those hackers. How do they keep doing it over and over, folks? I wonder who's giving them money to do it. It's not almost like they have their own. They just follow whatever he says for some reason. I guess they're giving money or something to do it. You know what I mean? I don't know. Who knows, right? We don't know. But it's just amazing how that happens every time. And, of course, also we have North Carolina power, of course, plants. And, again, like I said, my college studies were actually into power plant technology. So this is right up my alley, folks. We're seeing, again, every single time. And it's interesting. It's in the winter. Bills are already high. We already know some of these power plants can't even get enough coal because of that WAR going on. And they're like, look, let's make it more, of course, difficult for you and I. Let's just make sure that they don't have power in some places. And, of course, this could be, as you would say, a test, right? And this is kind of how I'm looking at it. Maybe this is a test, almost like you live in a sci-fi movie, folks. And I've been watching some interesting sci-fi movies of recent that kind of remind me of some of this stuff. I've been watching that new TV series, The Last of Us, and I was watching Stormpiercer as well. Really hope that doesn't happen, either one of those. But, you know, who knows with these guys? When you got Mini-Me and Austin Powers there, you never know, right? We don't know what will happen. So, honestly, though, they're not the only people. I mean, we're having, obviously, two different economies form now. It used to be a global, of course, economy. Now it's becoming two different, separate economies. And that's why we have this WAR that's been shaping up. And I'm going to be covering that more in a different video. But in this video, I'm just talking mainly about this interesting little trend of people getting on computers and making things happen. Just so exactly after that one guy, Santa Claus, said to do it. Here we go. Here we have another one. The guy who actually did this in Las Vegas. Okay, another power plant, once again. And he's from Idaho, apparently. And what's interesting is the one that was from Washington, or the one, they took two, of course, in for the 4 power substations in Washington, and they just let them go. Well, we're done looking at them. We're good. Maybe because they're friends. We paid them money. Oh, that's interesting how that always happens. You know, they just let him go. It's over. It's okay, man. Doesn't matter. You know, interesting how that always happens way too often. Not every time, but way too often. And so I'm kind of curious what's going to happen with this guy if they just let him go as well. Yeah, they had one in Las Vegas. So we have one in Las Vegas. We got some in Oregon, Washington, North Carolina. I'm surprised there's none in California at this point, folks. And again, like I said, we also had them in near Tacoma, which is really curious. And I mentioned, this is before I even knew the World, as you would say, Economic, Forum mentioned this. I pointed out the fact that we had some of this particular country's finest training over there in Canada, literally 100 miles north of Tacoma, Washington. And they've been there for 2 years. And that particular country, this one right here, is well known for having some of the best, of course, hackers in the world. Just kind of a weird coincidence once again, folks. And now we have other countries, including Japan, having these things happen as well. So this just happened 12 hours ago. Japan, a soar in these computer guys again. Again, what's going on here? We're seeing it everywhere all of a sudden out of nowhere, folks. And the outlets love this stuff. Seems like they almost work in tandem. It's kind of weird how that happens, but so you got that one as well. But like I said, it's not as if we got just Austin Powers and Mini-Me there running the show. We got others involved in this whole thing as well. We have two separate, economies in the world at this point, and they're not happy and they're not working together, and they're in a current WAR, right? And we're on, of course, on a trail towards that world, as you would say, WAR, number 3, if this keeps going. And again, I'm going to be covering that in another video, but it's just kind of curious. So you got these guys over, as you would say, the West, trying to make these things happen, but it's kind of interesting how I'm kind of curious how they're going to deal with the East and how they're getting to where they're at now, because they're actually almost equal in economic strength overall. And by 2040, they'll actually surpass the West in economic GDP overall. And of course, money buys things, as you can imagine. And that kind of is where I'm wondering where this is all going to head. We're seeing sort of all these things swirl together into one place, and it makes you really wonder what's going to happen next. I'm kind of wondering what some of you guys think. Let me know in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.